I mean, especially the third condition makes typically access to finance more difficult for these types of entities, while we do believe that they have an important contribution to the EU inclusive and resilient growth, thanks to their social environmental impact. So a part of our policies at EU level is to try to reestablish the level playing field so that these economic actors with their specific business models can still thrive and beyond the economic activity really bring positive impact to our EU society. So this action plan we adopted in 2021 set the frame, and it had three main pillars of actions about setting the right enabling conditions, increasing visibility, recognition of the social economy, and the second one, the middle one, was opening up opportunities. And the opening up opportunities, sorry. One of our key targets obviously was access to finance, which is always mentioned as one of the first bottlenecks that social enterprises experience to thrive. That's where we also committed again to the idea to support through blended finance, so complementing equity instruments with grant support as well, to help develop access to equity finance as well for social enterprises at a cost that remains manageable for funds investors. Because I mean the transaction costs, that's exactly what we, with the focus of the current call, still remain high, and comparatively, the lower the amount of the investment, the higher the cost, the fixed cost for managing and assessing the transactions. The Social Economy Action Plan just went through a midterm review that was published end of March this year to take stock of what we have been doing so far and also looking forward to 2030. And so, just for information, so most of the actions, we had 63 under the initial plan, have been completed or are ongoing. And we wanted to reposition the action plan in a world that has changed a lot from 21 to 26. And also in view of and its linked, the new policy priorities at EU level, notably the focus a lot on competitiveness, prosperity, resilience, autonomy of the EU. We do believe that the social economy is part of this narrative as well. And that's why we refreshed our vision with, again, a three-pillar vision for until 2030, which is to have a competitive social economy, a robust social economy, and a recognized social economy. Under the robust, what do we mean? We target mostly two dimensions: the access to the right skills, people with the right skills for them to strive, and again, access to finance, which remains one of the bottlenecks that still is flagged by most social economy entities, notably social enterprises. So here we want to reinforce, keep on reinforcing our support to developing a well-functioning finance ecosystem. So that goes from the direct access to finance, but also business development services, incubation, entrepreneurship pathways. And again, we do that because we believe that social economy and notably social enterprises have a special role, business model with some handicaps, but strong impact that is very important to contribute to our policy objectives that have been highlighted again by our President, President van der Leyen, during her inaugural speech, where she issued her political guidelines. And two of them are particularly relevant for us: a new plan for Europe's sustainable prosperity and competitiveness. And the other one is supporting people, strengthening our societies and our social model. And we do believe that social enterprises stand at the intersection of the two because they really can make a difference in terms of delivering inclusive and resilient growth. This is also very much aligned with the objective we pursue under the European Social Fund Plus, for example, which is one of the main funds that we use in DG Employment. And the other fund that is very relevant and important here is InvestEU, and especially social investment and skills window. We also gave some information in the call text. This is, for us, a program that is very important. It results from the merger of various programs in the previous multi-annual financial framework. And basically it regroups all the programs that we're running through financial instruments and budgetary guarantees. So repayable finance, to put it in a nutshell. And it's organized in 4 windows. One of them is a social investment and skills window. And there we want to promote sustainable investment, social inclusion and job creation in Europe through various components. So one is focusing on microfinance. Another one is focusing on access to finance for social enterprises. We also have products that support social impact investing. And then we have different kinds of products on skills. And another category, I would say, is social infrastructure, and notably social housing, long-term care, student housing. So that's a bit to give you the overall picture. And there we do have products that are of the various types that are complementary and important for enterprises to access, which means we have warranty products, we have debt products, and we have equity products. In the realm of social enterprises, our main implementing partners, because the Commission does not implement directly this program, we go through implementing partners, in that case, mostly the European Investment Funds, the EIF, and also the CEB, the Bank of the Council of Europe Development Council. So this is a bit in a nutshell, and it's a bit to explain the perspective, because over the last decade, actually, we have been consistently supporting the finance ecosystem in the EU from the very start, I would say, to somehow the biggest funds that have become mature enough to get support under InvestEU. So it's a bit of a roadmap, if I may say. It doesn't mean that everybody needs to end there. No, and it's also it's a long process for maturing. And we have very diverse ecosystems in Europe. In terms of maturity, some are already very mature, some are much more nascent. That's also why we have our various building blocks in terms of financial support. We start with the acknowledgement of the mismatch between demand and supply. That's a question on which we had worked at the start of the multi-annual financial frameworks that runs from 21 to 27. We try to assess the investment gap for social enterprises. And again, I mean, with the caveat that it's very different from one member state to the other. But overall, the assessment was that it was €1 billion missing for social enterprises in terms of financing. Sorry. So how do we get there? So we have various tools. One is what we call the supply and demand call, which is to help set up new funds in very nascent geographies where nothing exists. And then when the funds gets a bit bigger, one of the lessons learned we have is that the transaction cost for doing the due diligence and accompanying the investment of these funds in social enterprises are still rather high costs, and it's a fixed cost overall. So whether you invest for big ticket or small tickets, the cost is more or less the same. Now for social enterprises, obviously, we are rather looking at small tickets. So hence this idea of this call, which is now open again, and it's not the first iteration. Liliana will tell you more about it in a minute. So the idea is to help with the grant component to cover part of this fixed cost, to really encourage fund managers to invest small tickets in social enterprises, just to try to build slowly but surely the scale, so from the nascent ones to the a bit bigger ones, and then to some funds who really make it to bigger sizes for some of them. So that's what we call doing policy through funding as well, because our overall objective remains to have a strong ecosystem in all member states in terms of policy framework, but also in terms of access to finance, so that social enterprises can strive throughout Europe. So it's really for us part of the toolbox. And so we have been implementing it already for the last 10 years. You will get a glimpse of some results in a minute. And the idea is really to in the end support for us the implementation of our policy framework. and to have these conditions across all member states, that we can have social enterprises thriving and contributing to this resilient and inclusive growth that we are looking after. So that's a bit the big picture, and now I pass the floor to Iliana, who will focus more directly on this call, of which of direct interest today for you, and starting a bit with the history of the call. Thanks, Iliana.
Thank you, Brigitte. So indeed, yes, as you heard, it's not the first time we publish such a call. So we try to build on the experience of the previous ones. It's more than a decade now that we are investing in this type of calls so for proposals. So we have spent already more than 10 million euro on EU budget only for this type of projects. The first call was published in 2017. Followed directly by a second round at top up in 2018. And at the time, we had 16 projects selected from 6 member states for a budget of 6.5 million. And the co-financing was already at 80%. Just a second, sorry, there's somebody in the lobby. So the overall call result we can say it was that the investments mobilized were above 108 million euro for investments in social enterprises, which calculated gives a leverage effect of above 16%. The call was repeated in 2022 with a budget of 4.2 million, and at that time we had the 9 projects from 6 member states, but not the same. And the project duration was up to 36 months. The majority of those projects ended now in the first half of 26, so we don't have yet the assessment and the leverage effect calculated. But we can say as an indication that an average project under the 2022 call had more or less a 36 months duration or EU contribution of 500k, investments in 12 to 15 social enterprises, and the total investment portfolio was around 6 million, just to give you an indication. So of course, what we try to do is to build on the experience from those previous calls and to prepare the terms of reference, the call for proposals text for this one, as to better meet the needs of the social finance intermediaries. So what are the objectives of this new call that was just published? Well, first of all and above all is to further develop the social enterprise finance markets and to support the social finance intermediaries who provide the needed capital to the social enterprises. And for the first time, we also clarified that mission-driven enterprises are also included and part of the targeted investees. So in this direction, the call wants to build upon the previous, of course, experience and to support the social finance intermediaries who undertake the long-term risk capital investments in social enterprises and mission-driven enterprises, and wants to catalyze risk capitals below 1 million euro, which we believe that otherwise a risk not to happen. The call aims to support the transaction costs and to help to overcome thus the identified market failure. And this under this call for proposals, the transaction cost support will come in the form of a grant, but it can be also combined with financial instruments. For the objectives of the call, we want to further develop, of course, the social finance, social enterprise finance markets in countries that are less developed, and we want to encourage the European transnational and innovative dimension. So for the long-term capital investments, what we understand is that we want to focus and that it takes the form of equity, as equity or hybrid funding. The 3 definitions that we want to use for the call for proposals and that gives the common understanding for all applicants are defined in the call text, so I will not repeat them. Similarly, we want for the investees, so those that will be selected to get the investments, so the social enterprises and the mission-driven enterprises, to follow the definitions provided in the call text. Sorry. So for the themes and the priorities of the call, the EU grants will serve to cover the part of the transaction costs that we all know that are high and sometimes quite unflexible. As in the direction, we can say that we want the grant request support not to exceed the 10% of the total expected investment portfolio. And for those applicants who really target very low value tickets below 300,000, this support can go up to 15% calculated on the expected investment portfolio, of course. Another requirement is that per investee, so for a social enterprise that will benefit or a mission-driven enterprise, the overall amount to be invested should be at maximum 1 million over a period of 18 months. Which means that if a second investment comes within the 18 months period, it needs to keep the ceiling of the 1 million. Otherwise, both investments will come ineligible under the grant support. For the activities that we see as included, we provide a list in the call, which is not exhaustive, it's not so limited, it's just an indication of what we could think about. Those are activities that are related to the preparation phase, the conclusion, and the follow-up of the long-term risk or capital investments. It can be also from the traveling costs to meet the investees and the screening process, the due diligence to really support them with their business plan, restructuring or scaling, or preparing an impact measurement or management plan or system. And it can also, of course, and anything else you can think about which is relevant and falls under the merit of the action. And we also see activities related to the overall EU value added and the innovative dimension also included and being part of the eligible activities. Such activities could be testing innovative solutions for a tool that could lower the transaction cost in a more structural and sustainable way, and bring a value added also for the future, or any cross-border experience or sharing support peer or between peers, emerging social finance market support. But again, the list is indicative, is not exclusive, and it can be, of course, ameliorated, and so you can bring your own ideas as it better fits your project proposal. The expected impact for us is very important. We mentioned already that we calculated the first call for proposals impact and the leverage effect. We are now calculating the one of the 2022 call. So in order to be able to calculate the impact and the results, we want the projects and the proposals to also include a description of an evaluation method that will allow also to have indicators, quantitative and qualitative, so that we can also monitor the implementation of the project, but also the expected results afterwards. The indicators should be realistic, measurable, and relevant, of course, and the level of achievement or any deviation will need to be explained and justified in the final reporting of the project. It's very important as well to include in the project proposal milestones and deliverables that will be spread throughout the project life cycle. We don't want to see all the milestones and all the deliverables arriving only at the very end of the project, presented to us on the very last month. It will not help us to monitor or effectively the project implementation. For the available budget for the call for proposals, as mentioned in the call published, we are at 4,700,000. We believe that this budget is sufficient to fund 8 to 10 projects. We calculated roughly on a grant requested amount per project between 400,000 and 750,000. The funding rate remains as in the previous calls, 80%. At max, and we expect the project duration to be from 36 to 48 months. So you can see an increase compared to previous calls. We know that sometimes the projects are difficult to implement in a short period, or there are different steps that you need to undertake from the investee identification to the signature for the investment. And also we are approaching the end of the current funding period for MFF. So we prefer to provide a larger duration period for the implementation so that you can implement at ease and have better results. For the timeline of the call, well, it was published on 18th of June, and the submission deadline is towards the end of September, 23rd September to be precise, at 5 p.m. Central Europe time, Brussels time. We aim to evaluate from October to December, and we will be able to announce the results in January and start, of course, proceeding with the grant preparation signature phase, and to have everything finalized and signed by March 2027. For the admissibility, the proposals will need to be, of course, submitted electronically. It's not something new now. You're more or less all familiar with the system. They need to be submitted before the call deadline, and they need to be complete. By meaning complete, all mandatory annexes and application parts A and B need to be included. So pay attention that once you submit, you have everything included. It's very important. And for the maximum length, we need the project proposal to be less than 40 pages. This counts for the part B, which is the technical part, the description of the project actions. For the eligibility, of course, candidates, applicants need to be legal entities, public or private. They need to be established in one of the eligible countries. For the call, the eligible countries, of course, are all the EU member states, including the overseas countries' territories. And they can also be established in one of the non-EU member states, but eligible countries. That means the listed EEA countries and the associated ESF Plus countries. For the European Economic Area, the countries are Iceland, Norway, and Liechtenstein. And for the participating in ESF Plus or acceding candidate countries, we have as eligibility Bosnia-Herzegovina, Kosovo, Moldova, Montenegro, Serbia, and Ukraine. The link to those countries is also available in the call text. There is an hyperlink that you can click on and get to the page with the name of the countries eligible. For the eligibility now also, for the single applicant or the lead applicant in case of a consortium, we want absolutely to have either an established legal entity of an investment fund, a fund of funds or a special purpose vehicle of any form, a co-investment scheme of any form, or the organization managing a ready to be established investment fund or funds of funds, special purpose vehicle, etc. In this case, the managing organization needs to be already registered with a legal entity, having, of course, in the mandate, the management of the fund which is under registration and about to be established. Oops. So all the beneficiaries and the affiliated entities will need to be registered in the participant register and validated by REA or validation entity. So for those who are not already registered, please do so as quickly as possible because the validation is to be done before you can submit the proposal. Other entities can also participate, of course, in other consortium roles, and those can be associated partners, subcontractors, third parties, giving in-kind contributions. You can refer to section 13 in the call proposal for all the details. On the award criteria, we will have first to assess the relevance of the project proposal. The maximum score for the relevance is 30 points, and the passing score will be 21. By relevance, we mean, of course, also the clarity and the consistency vis-a-vis the purpose of the proposal, the objectives of the call, the extent to which the proposal matches the key objectives of the call, the contribution to enabling access to finance for social enterprises and mission-driven enterprises, and the European dimension or the innovative or potential dimension of the proposal, as well as any contribution to emerging social finance markets or development of cross-border investments, etc. The second criterion is the quality. which is split in project design implementation and project team. There we have 30 points maximum for the quality on project design implementation, which is the technical or the concept management, or the feasibility of the actions proposed, or the cost effectiveness. And here again, the passing score is 21. And then we have the project team and the arrangements for the procedures, so solving mechanism, cooperation among the team members, so the quality of the proposed team experts, for a maximum score of 15 and the passing score at 10. To be noted that the overall operational capacity of the applicants is so assessed within this quality criterion. And then we go to the impact. The impact will be assessed up to a score of 25 with a passing mark at 18. And by impact, we want to assess the ambition of the expected long-term impact and the results on the target groups, the dissemination strategy that will be proposed to ensure the visibility of the expected impact of the project, the sustainability of the results after the EU funding will end, the value added of the grant of support also for implementing the proposed activities, and this needs to go beyond what applicant does usually as baseline activities, and any link or synergy with InvestEU or other EU policies. So, to be noted that the overall pass score of the proposal will need to be 70 out of 100. And the floor is so back to all of you for questions, clarifications. Or you can see in the screen also, and you have it also in the call text, so the email where you can send your questions after the end of this info session. And also, please feel free to go back quite often to the call page in the EU funding tender portal, because new questions and updates will be published. So that's all in a nutshell on my side. I will open to see if there are messages in the chat. So I have a first message just to confirm all costs associated with investments exceeding 1 million are not eligible. Yes, that's correct. Whatever investment is above 1 million euro is not considered eligible under this call for proposals. Funds that have already made investments, can they submit applications that include costs related to supporting and monitoring their portfolio companies? I would say no. A fund who has already invested cannot include the transaction cost of investments that took already place in the past. If within the 18 months following the first investment, you are called to do a second investment in social enterprise or mission-driven enterprise, and you respect the ceiling of 1 million within the 18 months, then the second investment could be eligible for support under the call. But investments that happened already, no, we cannot consider them under the call.
Yeah, if I may complement, I mean, as a reaction to both questions, the idea of this call for proposal is to generate more investment in social enterprises, small tickets, because that's where we believe that there's a kind of a market gap. So that's really the purpose of the call. So I mean, if the investments were already made without us, that's fine, perfect. But it means that the public support is not needed. So really the purpose, you have to think in terms of additionality. We're coming here as a blending tool to help you do more smaller tickets that you could not do without this kind of help, because the fixed cost would be too high. So that's really the logic that you have to follow to understand what we are looking for. Thanks.
One more question. If the equity cash equity helps the company to bring additional investments from third-party financial institutions. I'm not sure that I fully understand the question, Mikulas. If the investment of the 300K, after all you have the new bring in or additional investments, stays still below the 1 million ceiling, I would say that there's no problem for the 300K investment to remain eligible. If it goes above, it will be the same because we don't care from where this second investment comes, as long as it bridges the ceiling of 1 million and it comes within the 18 months. It will be over the ceiling for the call for proposals. To clarify also that the questions in the chat, we will also transcript them in a generic way and put them also in the EU funding tender portal for reference for those who could not follow the session.
Okay, excuse me. May I have a question then?
Yes, sure.
Okay,
Please.
just to specify or make more details. The question was that we are in the situations that this company they do not have access to capital, and this 300,000 or less than 300,000 of investment, the initial investment could help them to get additional leverage on the market from third parties. And we consider this as a kind of leveraging and giving a bigger kind of leverage to these small investments, so we can bring more investments into the companies with like given instruments we have. So in this case, would this be also considered as ineligible? I mean, because without these 300,000 of initial investment, they would not have this access to this third-party financing.
Do you believe that this third-party financing will bring them to a ceiling well above the 1 million then? Because
Yeah,
in theory, sorry.
No, the question, I understood it in the manner that you are not supposed to invest over 1 million in 18 months, but if this helps to bring to the company, because you have you are solving some problem, you invest initial equity, and then your aim is to scale it on the like to improve or increase the impact. Then you are trying to bring in the external money without your participation, to bring and to scale the impact. So we consider that if you succeed to bring additional money, more the better. So then you can increase the impact without using your initial equity or your financial instruments. So this could be, we believe this could be considered as a positive impact, not something that will like disqualify you from the subsidy, because it's very tough even the 1 million euro for such companies is very difficult to get. Even 2 millions is very difficult to get for them, but without this initial investment is almost impossible. So we are definitely struggling to get the financing from the banks, and even with the EU guarantees, because they are not in the line. Their ESG criteria are not in the line with your impact EU criteria, and it's a constant struggle with the banks, with the commercial banks. So that's why I'm asking and sharing the frustration from the market.
I can understand the frustration of the market. Point taken. We will need to maybe check also with our legal advisors internally, and we will get back to you in written. For sure, at priori, the 300K is fully eligible. Then we need to check if the support comes after that from other third parties independent of the fund.
Yeah.
How we can consider it. We will get back to you in written through the EU funding tender portal with a reply on that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate.
Okay, there's one more question in the chat. Could you please bring out more details about the points as an indication? So yes, this is an indication, or it's just to frame a bit what to expect as a grant request amount per proposal. And yes, as you say, that if we have an application for 500K EU grant support, we expect to see at least an investment portfolio of 5 million proposed. Well, I guess that at the time of the proposal, it will need to be the committed amount, but of course, at the end, when we will be assessing the overall implementation of the project, this needs to be disbursed. Otherwise, so we are also, I guess, in a position, we will be in a obliged to also on the eligibility of the costs, so decrease accordingly. Of course, you could have maybe 1 or 2 investments not happening, but also during the 36 to 48 months duration, you may also have the time to replace those. So in theory, yeah, committed and disbursed by the end of the project, I would say. A cooperative whose primary mission is environmental and energy community producing renewable energy qualifies as either social enterprise or as mission-driven enterprise under the call, provided that it meets the criteria listed on page 8 and 9 of the call. I would say, yeah, if it meets the criteria listed, so it qualifies.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Aurora, please.
Thank you. Thank you for all this information. I would like to go back 1 second to the 18 months limit, just to have some clarifications on my understanding.
Yes.
We understand that these are meant for long term risk capital, so the investment itself can, of course, be longer than 18 months.
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you. And let's imagine, it's just for me to really understand in concrete. As the project can last 48 months, we can have a first investment of, let's say, the maximum 1 million in month 1. And in month 24, therefore, beyond the limit of the 18 months, let's imagine we do an additional small investment of 200K. Both of these would be eligible. Then I understand the purpose, what you have said about the purpose of the call and so on, but it's just to understand at the operational level. In this case, even if the threshold is over 1 million, but the second investment has happened after the 18 months, we could consider both eligible.
Indeed, as per the call text, both will be eligible, as the second one will happen after 18 months. The 18 months was also set as a limit to avoid the artificial split of investments in tranches. So yeah, we consider that after 2 years, yeah, this investee social enterprise, mission-driven enterprise may have new needs, and that will qualify and justify a new investment. So yeah, the new one, if it's after 18 months, will be eligible as well.
Thank you.
No more questions?
Maybe can I add something else?
Yes, feel free.
Thank you. So it's about the combination of the two strands of activities. our understanding is that, of course, the main aim is the investment themselves. Therefore, the first trend about the investment facilitation would be the priority, but there is no expectation of proportion of activities under strength A and B. The second one referring to the transnational cooperation and exchange across EU countries.
Yes, you can decide to either include only type A activities or type A and B. I can imagine that only type B activities will be less common, but nothing is excluded. It's just a list of eligible activities that we propose. So to take or to leave, you can also elaborate others. We are not limiting the project proposals to those. It was what we could think about as relevant, but we will assess any other proposal, of course. And you can be as creative as you need to meet the overall objective of the call.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if Regina wants to complement.
Yeah, just a small compliment on this one. I mean, again, looking back at the purpose of the call, it's really for us, the objective is to support the building ecosystem. And you have also, what Iliana said is completely right. It's an option, you do it one way or the other. But what is important for us as well, maybe, and you need to keep an eye as well on the award criteria in case we receive many good proposals, which we all hope, obviously, that of course we will prioritize those with the most impact as per our definition. So there, the fact that you have a more EU dimension or more innovative dimension, obviously, could be a plus. So it's not compulsory, but just also keep in mind that the overall purpose for us is to support development of the ecosystem, innovative financing schemes. So obviously, any wider or more innovative proposal would be a plus in case of competition for the award in the end. Yeah, there's a question again on the associates.
Yes, I was typing the answer.
Okay.
So that it's also written.
Okay.
And I can explain also that Albania, indeed, it used to be among the ESF Plus participating countries as under negotiations. Unfortunately, the negotiations were ended. So the agreement was never signed. So that's why you can also see in the fees that Albania was removed from the list. So now we have, and I can confirm it's also written, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Kosovo, Moldova, Montenegro, Serbia, and Ukraine, which was not in the Balkans, but was just very recently added. Agreement signed and fully eligible as well under ESF Plus. If there are no more questions in the chat or hands that dare to take the floor, then I think we can thank you all for your interest. We look forward to receive your proposals. Please make sure you submit before the deadline. Don't wait for the very last day. IT platforms can crash and have bugs. You can submit the proposal and reopen it if it's submitted well in advance. So you can still do last moment changes or corrections if need. But please, each time for each call, we have persons that complained that they tried to do it and it was 5:01 and then the system had already closed. Those are all dealt automatically, so there's nothing to be done once it's just a few seconds after. the platform will be closed. So don't wait for the last moment, if I can give you an advice. Thank you again all. And we will also post the video recording and the questions in the EU funding tender portal under the call page. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.